Welcome to Awake to Oneness Radio. I am Caroline Chang, your host. The mission of Awake to Oneness Radio is to inspire the world to awaken to the universal truth of oneness. Now, science is teaching us that everything is energy, and that energy is interconnected and interdependent. In essence, that energy is one thing. Now, ancient wisdom and spirituality has been teaching the truth of oneness for eons, and science is now catching up. But this is not even new science. This science is over 100 years old. So when mankind wakes up to the truth of oneness, that whatever you do to another person, you're literally doing to another aspect of yourself, there will be peace on earth. Today's show topic is the gift within us with Mary Ann Bohrer. Mary Ann, welcome back to Awake to Oneness Radio.
Thank you, Caroline. It's such a pleasure to be here. I love your show, and your whole perception of everything is really right on.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's a passion. I just do, we were talking before we got started recording. I just follow Spirit's guidance, and this is where Spirit has led me, and it is truly a passion. So please, now, I know we talked last time we talked, it was before the pandemic. It was early March, wasn't it? Or was
it was late February? Whatever it was, maybe it was early March. My book came out on March 20th.
Okay.
So actually talked prior to it even being available.
Exactly.
Why now it's good because anyone can go on Amazon.com or BarnesandNoble.com and find it easily. But back then, you were probably the first person that interviewed me. So
Yes, I do remember. And you might be right. It might have been late February. I know it was all before all hit the fan, So right. I'm so glad to have you back. So now please tell us more, give us still, even though people may not have seen, some of my audience may not have seen the first show. So give us a little back history on how you got to writing this wonderful book.
Yes, my book is about intuition and hoping that more people are open to their own intuition. But how I got here is kind of interesting. I'm a public relations person by trade, and I lived and worked in New York City. Thank goodness I'm not living there now.
Okay.
It's a tough place right now. For about 14 years. And while at one public relations firm that I was in, a client came to me in 1997 and said he was erecting this giant digital clock in Midtown Manhattan, counting down the days and seconds and minutes to the year 2000, called the Millennium Clock. And he wanted me to get national media attention for this giant clock on 34th Street. Well, I thought, how am I going to do that? And you remember people were scared to death of Y2K?
I remember Y2K. Yes,
Year
I
2000, do. It's going to be, the computers are all going to stop working and our lives are going to end. Well, people were scared to death. So this client asked me to get press. I thought, how am I going to do it? It's a clock. But I realized I had the inspiration to find very highly gifted psychics, mediums, and invite them to this event and do a press event, which I did do, a press conference 1,000 days before the year 2000. Awesome. I did it at a restaurant in Midtown Manhattan where the clock was actually up at this point. And I had these very gifted people. I wasn't going to be lazy and just get storefront psychics. I wanted people that were really gifted. And I had 24 really gifted people. I sat them speed dating style at different tables in this restaurant. And 75 journalists showed up to cover this event, which is unusual.
Wow.
Including the Wall Street Journal, CBS Evening News, and of course, Entertainment Tonight and Inside Edition and all those. And each journalist got to spend 3 minutes with each gifted person. And they could ask world event questions, celebrity questions, or personal questions. And I mentioned this story for a couple of reasons. Yes, it did get enormous amounts of national and even global press. But the guy from the Wall Street Journal came up to me at the end and he was shaking and his face was just pale. And he said, Mary Ann, I confess, I came here to make fun of these people.
Oh my God.
They were so accurate that I'm still in shock. And the other reason I mention it is because I ended up becoming close friends, and still am, with a number of the gifted people.
Okay.
And I felt like I'd found, my family. And
Yes.
over the years as a communicator, as are you, I mean, these people are communicators also. They were mistreated in the media,
Yes.
misperceived as, oh, they've got to be fakes or charlatans, just taking people's money or woo woo or whatever, just discounting them, which annoyed me because I knew personally that these people, many of them struggled with their gifts as children.
Yes.
Some were bullied actually for being gifted. Some were supported, but many had to struggle. And today they help so many people. And it just annoyed me. So I started writing their chapters, stories about them, their stories, profile chapters. And I have 33 profile chapters of highly gifted people, psychics, mediums, and healers from the US and around the world in my book. They're not short, they're like 7 to 9 pages, tells the story of their life, how they first realized they were gifted. Some were frightened by it. Some used it to their advantage in school to get, an ace test.
Yes.
There's funny stories. There's some came to it very late in life, like Suzanne Giesman, who
Yes.
who is a very well-known medium now, but for her first 48 years of her life, she was a naval commander
Yes.
and rode on Air Force One and all that. And then her stepdaughter, who was pregnant, got struck by lightning and killed. And she suddenly was flooded with these abilities. So I have the stories of these people, all very different in
Yes.
this book. And I have their contact information, FYI. If they're all super highly gifted, but also high integrity. But if
Right.
anyone out there is looking to find someone who's excellent and will give them an amazing reading, that's who I have in this book, because I know how hard it is for people to find truly gifted psychics, mediums, and healers. It's very difficult. I also have a chapter I wrote about how people with these abilities have been treated throughout history.
Mhm.
Sometimes they were revered by kings.
Yes.
Sometimes they were persecuted for their gifts.
Yes.
I also have a chapter where I interview scientists like Dean Radin and Gary Schwartz and others
Yes.
who are studying psychic ability, what's called PSI, and intuitive
Yes.
ability, and all of this type of stuff, which I call them brave because in the scientific community, it's a
Yes.
little better now, but for much of their career, they've been maligned and put down because it's a taboo to be studying
Right.
these things. When in
Yes.
fact, after a conference or something, these men will rush up to the scientists and say, I've had my own psychic experiences, or this happened to me. And so
Right.
my book is about taking this out of this stereotype of new age things of all being about scary and haunted and just blowing that stereotype out of the water. It is
Yes.
so old fashioned.
Yes.
It is done. We're tired of it. We talk about the form of communication that we have now
Right.
with the iPhone.
Yes.
The internet, I mean, when I was growing up, there were phones on cords. And so, yes, we've advanced to this place of having these wonderful tools, but
Right.
little do people understand that the next step is really something that we all innately have, which is
Yes.
this gift within us, which is intuition. And there's no cell phone bill. It's free. And we have amazing wisdom, divine guidance from the powers that be, I call them, and
Right.
our guides, whatever. And we would do well to listen to them. We're already getting those inspirations, as you know,
Each
we're
one
getting
of us.
those gut feelings, those
Yes.
hunches. It just came to me, is what people will say.
Yes.
Well, you know where it's coming from. Your loving entities, guides, beings that
Team.
care about you.
Yes.
And you can also not just wait till you get the gut feeling, you can ask them for help.
Mhm.
Say, I'm at a crossroads. What should I do? And I have 6 simple steps to accessing your inner voice.
Right. Right.
Because people think it's hard. It's very simple, but listening, asking for help and listening is huge. Another big one is be humble. Take your ego down a few pegs and listen. If
Yes.
you're full of ego and you think all of these brilliant thoughts that you're getting is only from your rational mind,
Right.
you're not giving credit where credit is due. For example, with the cover of this book, which is a
Yes.
simple white book, like with a
I
bow,
love it.
looks
The
like a
gold
gift.
ball.
I
Yes.
would admit they gave that to me. One day,
Yes.
I maybe had 20 working titles for this book,
Right.
each one more than the next. And suddenly I hear the gift within us. I'm like, okay. And they
That's
show me a gift, which is the book, which is a bow.
right.
I recognize that I got that from them. And we're getting that type of thought a lot.
Yes.
Not that I'm going to make meatloaf tonight, maybe,
Right.
but certain other things we're coming from them. And I think it's kind of time we develop that muscle, as I finally have done, that we
Right.
understand that some of these amazing thoughts and insights we're getting, inspirations are coming from them.
Yes.
And we need to open up this form of communication. It's not scary,
Not at all.
necessarily hear any voices or see visions. It's just as easy as a thought coming into your head.
Exactly. That's so true. Like I say in the beginning of my show, my awakening was science. So everything that I'm grounded in has already been proven scientifically. And when you talk about, if we think about in the year 1900, and now we're in 2020, if you compare 1900 with today, you took somebody, if just went back in time and took someone from 1900 and brought them here, they would think they're on an alien planet. No, this can't be Earth. It's just, so we can't be so limited. And now, and I use the example of 1900 to today. It's speeding up.
Yeah.
That change now, that change from 1900 to today is now from today to the year 2030. We're not going to recognize it.
Yeah.
We're not going to recognize 2030. Okay. So it's just because things are speeding up, and it is us. It's I say our higher self, whatever terminology, universe, God, whatever terminology, it doesn't matter what the words are. It's that connection to all that is speaking through us. And I, just like you, every step I take now is directed by them. And all the time, I don't know where it's leading me. I know that it's directing me. And like the name of my show, Awake to Oneness Radio, that came, like your book title came from them. So did the name of my show came from them. So it's all divinely guided. And we all have that. You know what we do? We let what I call the monkey mind. I call it the monkey mind. We let the monkey mind get in the way. Yeah. Yes. So.
And the ego.
Yes.
And the ego. It's kind of like we live in a society where it's all reality TV. Some of our politicians are all about themselves.
Yes.
And we need to kind of realize that we're part of a collective group here.
Yes.
And we're all one. We're hearing that message. What's really brought us into that is the virus. I mean, we talked before the pandemic.
Right.
We have all been forced into our homes with our families, working from home, inside, looking inside ourselves, realizing that you look at, it's Europe, it's Asia, it's everywhere that's affected by this thing. So it's humbled us, not by our own choice, but the universe stepped in and said, you've been left to your own devices for a while. You kind of have gotten into trouble. You need to step in, and it's time. And I think that, if you learn to listen to your intuition, which we're all getting all the time, you'll be delighted by the fact that even if you're just thinking about yourself, you'll be guided to more personal success, personal happiness. So when you get to those crossroads about a job or a relationship or whatever, you can tune in and you'll get those answers. Now, I will say there are times in our lives, because human life is a school. Our souls are meant to grow. There will be times when we might not get an answer, because it's called, what a friend of mine called, the desert of the soul.
Okay.
You might need to struggle for a time, or things might be stalled so that we can kind of deal with it. Like if your kid skins their knee. They learn. But most often, in my experience, if you ask for guidance and help, answers do come. Maybe somebody calls you out of the blue, or you see something on a billboard. I don't even know. It's come to me in so many different ways.
Exactly.
And often with humor. I mean, they're very funny. But yeah, people understand it's almost like a little bit of a superpower. Some of the most successful titans of industry admit that they have followed their intuition, and that's how they got the light bulb turned on. They got the inspiration, and then they were busy at making it happen. But it's still a taboo to really give credit where credit is due, and I'm like, just get over yourself.
It's so true. And we all have those inspirations, and we like to push them aside and ignore them, and they will still come back, because when our higher self, our spirit team wants to get something across to us, it keeps on. But also, I say all the time, our greatest challenges, and this is very hard to wrap your mind monkey mind, your human mind
Mhm.
around what I'm about to say. But our greatest challenges are our greatest blessings, because it's those challenges that, like you said, you call it a school, and those challenges that we have help us to grow, help us to graduate to the next level, help us to get there. And so our greatest challenges are truly our greatest blessings. But from our limited human mind, we see it, oh my God, why do I have to go through this? But no, it is totally a blessing in disguise.
Yes, I know. And it's funny because I have a daughter who's 19. And
Hmm.
when you have a little one, it's just such joy. I mean, yes, they do crazy things and you have to change their diapers and run after them. But when
Right.
they get to a certain teenage year, you say, nobody told me this when I had a baby. They get any parents out there can understand.
Yes.
Sometimes there's this like they're meant to start to become individuals and push you away, and they can be
Yes.
challenging. And but I've learned even with the challenges, my daughter's wonderful. I'm very blessed. She's a
Yes.
great girl. However, during those difficult times when they're separating and we're at odds,
Yes.
I've learned from her, even though
Yes.
it's been painful for me sometimes. So yeah, even in just being a parent or being a
Yes.
spouse or whatever, we do have these challenges come up, but we're better for it if we
Exactly.
learn. If we close off and demand that we're always in the right and don't listen, maybe you're not going to graduate. Maybe you're
Right.
going to live your life in like a bubble. Like you,
Yes.
you need to open up and learn. And if you really love your child or even love yourself, you're going to want to let that
Right.
come in and open. And one thing I wanted to say also, if your rational mind, if you're going to say move to another city or whatever, and your rational mind is telling you this, but your gut feeling is way over here,
Yes.
you would be wise to listen to the gut feeling,
Yes.
because you can just barrel through like a railroad and go with your rational mind. And
Right.
oftentimes you're going to find that, uh-oh, maybe
Uh-huh.
that wasn't the right path, you know?
Exactly. And like I said, I believe, and I know, because I say sensations come from three places: the mind, the monkey, what I call the human consciousness, the gut, but also the heart. For me, it this is where I feel it. I feel it right here in the center of my chest, and my heart chakra is where I get that wisdom. And so I think the three areas of our body, which has chakras, the energy wheels, we get inspiration. For me, I filter everything through the heart,
Hmm.
and it's like it's to me, it's right now, it's just a knowing. When I know it, I'm like, okay, and I may not know why, but I'm like, okay, I got it, I'm gonna do it, I'm just gonna follow in that path. And I find that my higher self gives me one step at a time. It's like, okay, I'm
Yeah.
not going to give you the next step till you take that first step seriously. So, and I believe our higher self and our soul team will always, even if we decide to barrel through, go not listen to our heart and our gut and just barrel through, we still end up, it's like, okay, let them go. Our higher self's like, okay, she knows best, let her go. But then we'll still end up where we were supposed. It may take longer, because in spirit, there is no time. So
Right.
it may take longer for us to get there, but they will continue to direct us in the path that we're supposed to be on.
Exactly. You're exactly right. And although your audience listeners are probably very informed already, I was told when I've been on other shows sometimes that some of the listeners think, well, that's for them to do. I can't do that. And what I
Mm.
want people to know, as I mentioned to you before, um, I wish I was a really strong meditator, but
Yes.
I'm a white knuckler. I'm always busy doing this or that. And so they would have to get me when I'm just waking up or in the shower, or I joke, bang me over the head with a rubber mallet or something. I've learned to develop that muscle now, but and while I do think meditating and holding, focusing on chakras, holding crystals, all that has great value, you
Yes.
don't have to be good at any of that. In my
Right.
6 simple steps, I outline just very basic things you can do. But one thing that I noticed is that, remember the Wizard of Oz? I think I mentioned to you
I love
last time.
I love the story.
Dorothy wants to get back, she goes to Oz to try to get back to Kansas, and she has to go with the flying monkeys attacking her, and then the poppies falling asleep, and all that crazy stuff she has to go through. And she finally gets to Oz, and the
Right.
poor wizard cannot get her back to Kansas.
Right.
And beautiful Glinda comes down in that beautiful bubble and
Right.
says to her, but Dorothy, you've always had the power to go back to Kansas.
Yes.
You just wouldn't have believed me.
Yes.
And she goes back, and I mean, she taps her heels there. She's there. That's something that my guides gave me to write in this book. It's in the afterword.
Yes.
It's so simple. It's right at our fingertips. You don't have to be a special person with special abilities. You just
Right.
need to be humble, listen, and trust,
Yes.
and realize that it's coming from a loving place.
Yes.
They're rooting for us. They really want us to succeed.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
People don't quite understand the amount of love that's coming from them, and also they're brilliant and they're funny. So
Yes.
it's like you have this major resource right there.
Yes.
It doesn't mean, like I said, that you said every step you take, I think not every single step I take is coming from them. I mean,
Right.
my major pathway is, but
Right.
I will say on a daily basis, I know I'm getting these inspirations. And just
Right.
if you're waking up in the morning or in the shower, a lot of people relate to that. If you get a thought that isn't, you kind of are aware it's not from your rational mind,
Yes.
follow it. Try that. You'll see it can make a very positive difference in your life. And if you're stumbling, that's another reason I have the contact information, the websites or phone numbers or email addresses of the gifted people.
Right.
You can contact one of these people if you want.
Yes.
And sometimes I say that one small session with one of these truly gifted people can wipe out the need for, say, maybe 2 years of therapy.
Yes.
Just clears all the cobwebs and can clarify it for you. And it's very hard to find very gifted people. That's why their contact info is there.
Right.
I mean, you can go out and find a person that calls themselves a psychic or medium. I would say people all think, oh, they're all fake. No, I think a tiny minority, I've never really met a super fake person. I think, but they're out there, I guess. But the vast majority of people are well-meaning but mediocre. They're picking up your hopes and dreams and fears. They mean well, but maybe the advice isn't the best. The people in my book and other super gifted people are picking up information from the source.
Right.
I use the analogy, we all can sing.
Yes.
How many people can sing like Adele? I mean, not many. So it's
I
like
use the analogy because I teach piano. So
Oh.
I use an analogy. Everybody can learn to play a piano, but not everyone has that, just can play like Liberace, So yes.
Or even, do you ever watch Stephen Colbert on Late Show? Probably you don't watch a lot of TV, but he has this wonderful piano player that, I mean, I played piano for years. I could never do what this guy does. It's just the level of ability. And that's with these people. They're very regular, down-to-earth people. And when people have read my book, they say, Mary Ann, when they read their stories, some of these people are divorced. Some are in abusive relationships. They're regular people with regular issues. It doesn't mean that their lives are perfect, but that they just have this strong gift and ability to tap in a very deep way. That's not to say that we don't all have that gift. They just have it kind of in spades. Some are mediums. They talk to our deceased loved ones. Some can't do that. Some just get predictions about our futures. It's all over the map. But every single last one of us, I don't care what religion you are, if you're religious at all, it transcends religion. We all have the ability to tap in to this divine guidance and wisdom just by listening to our inner voice.
Yes, very true. And I know we're kind of, society teaches us to think, oh, it's just little old me, but that's where you're not. You are connected to all that is. Like you said in the beginning, it is all one. It is just, it's source, and we're all plugged into source. And if we, like you say, I say, quiet the mind. Now, I'm not the greatest meditator in the world. I enjoy meditating. And I actually enjoy meditating at the lake. So when I'm outside at the lake, and I'm going camping this weekend. So I put my feet, on the bare ground, on Mother Earth and the lake. I'm in heaven. That's my little bit of heaven. And I can really get into a deep meditation. But when I'm at home, I try to give it 5 to 10 minutes of my time. But then I'm like it's like, I got this to do and that to do and this to do. But so, and whatever flows, whatever works for whoever, because exercising is a meditation.
Yeah.
When I do my power walk, I'm meditating. So it's a moving meditation. And actually, I like this. When you're truly focused in the now and living your life, that's a meditation. So every now moment can be a meditation if you're focused in the now moment and really focused on what you're doing. That's a meditation. That's a form of meditation.
Well, it's interesting because I used to go to the gym 5 days a week. And of course, with the pandemic, I'm
Right.
not going. So I need to be physical. So I don't run because I don't want my knees to get bad or anything.
Yes.
So I would get up. I live next to a beautiful park and golf course. So I
Okay.
would get up very early in the morning when the sun was just coming up, and I'd walk for a half hour, 45 minutes through this beautiful park. And I had my iPhone and I thought, well, I'll listen to some show. I don't turn it on because the sounds of nature, the beautiful sun rising, the sky, I feel so overwhelmed like
Yes.
you with the
Yes.
spiritual like connection. And I'll even have a little conversation with them.
Yes.
You know, maybe I
Yes.
have an issue with the book, or I need to do, and oh, can you help me here? I mean,
Yes.
it's just so funny but that is a beautiful thing. And I'm not, even when this is over, I'm not going back to the gym to the
Okay.
degree that I did. I
Okay.
just bought heavier clothes to go walking because it's like 30 degrees in the morning now.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
out there, but I'm with you on that. You don't have to be really good at that kind of thing, but I will give you a couple of the simple steps if it's
Sure.
okay.
Definitely. Please.
I've said them already, but quiet your mind. Even those of us that are white knucklers, just take a deep breath and just like, if you've ever had a decision to make, like, are we going to move or whatever? I know instinctively you already do this for you. Just you get quiet for a second to see what you're going to be feeling about that.
Right.
That's really intuition. But
Yes.
quiet your mind. Let it quiet just for a minute and be humble and take your ego down a couple pegs. Hard to do for many people.
Right.
Essential to this process.
Yes.
Trust your gut, which is again, your rational mind's telling you this, your gut's telling you that. You feel safe with your rational mind because this is more outside of your experience. You'd be wise to listen to the gut feeling.
Yes.
The other one, ask for help. Again, if you've been raised in faith, you've been told, ask and you shall receive. But
Yes.
how many of us really believe that if we're asking or praying for help, I mean, it's like holding a phone. You're
Yes.
praying, you're saying, I need help with this, I need help with that. Maybe you're wondering if anyone's on the other side, if they're listening, if you're being foolish, whatever. What my guides have told me is that they also have a phone and they're yearning to connect with us.
Okay.
So ask for help. If you think the powers that be, the universe is just too busy to care about you, you would be wrong.
Right.
They're here to guide us, and we just need to understand that we are worthy of receiving that guidance. Don't feel that you're too unimportant to them. It's the opposite.
Well, that's like I said, that's a society thing. We're kind of from birth, we're programmed to think we're not.
Right.
But we are. The thing is, there's so much love coming from them to us because we are a part of them. They know this. We don't know that we are a part of them. They know the connection. We are the ones that have forgotten our connection, and it's just, we get into the mindset, oh, I'm just little me. When you're so much more.
They say young children are very pure in that way, and then we get up and it gets beaten out of us, or not beaten, but
we're programmed. I like that word, programmed out of us. Yes.
You can't believe it. And really, that's part of the human condition, is we're wiped clean. Okay. We stumble along and we try, but yes, it's very important to know that we're loved very much and that they're there to help us. The last two are be open and believe that we're not alone in this world. I mean, we see our friends and our partners and our family, and we see television. We don't understand that there's this whole other enormous, massive field of energy of beings, our higher self, greater good, God, the universe, whatever, that's there because we can't see it. We're not alone. We're being helped all the time. And I mean, helped. Someone said to me, if you listen to your intuition, are you going to be harmed or led down the wrong path? And my immediate answer was the opposite. They're looking out for us. If you follow it, you're not going to regret it, truthfully. So it's all positive. The last thing is, again, become adept at hearing your inner voice. I mean, just when you get a thought that doesn't immediately make sense, that you rationally believe it or thought of it, take note of that. Take note of the feeling that you got, just like when you have gut feelings. It feels like it's coming from a different place. And you can kind of over time immediately recognize, oh, like when people say it just came to me.
Right.
They have wonderful ways of delivering information to us, and just realize that it's not going to feel wildly different than a thought that's coming into our head. That's why so many of us can fool ourselves that, oh, wow, I'm brilliant. But I do believe that it is a gift that's already there. Just recognize and give a little credit where credit is due, and understand that we are being helped, and the ball will start rolling. You'll become even more in dialogue with them again, not necessarily chatting, but it's like having this whole resource of amazing, beautiful, brilliant energy right there at our fingertips that many of us don't realize. This ultimate form of communication, if nothing else, that's what it is. And I think the virus has forced many people to really turn inward and explore that, which is one, to your point, things are very much accelerating now. It's going faster and faster. And I believe I've heard that light workers, young babies and children are being born that have this knowledge. We have the other side, they're coming through my book, your show, all sorts of other, there's many people on the planet right now that are helping raise awareness about these things. And then in fact, we get smacked with the virus. So that also adds to
But actually, remember I had said that what we call our toughest challenges is our greatest blessing. COVID-19 is I've been on cloud nine. See, you haven't talked to me since this all started. I have been in a state of bliss since this started, because I look at everything from the spiritual perspective, and I know that COVID-19 is our greatest blessing, because COVID-19 is the beginning, and I got this message, and I can tell you the date. It was March 21st, 2020. Where Spirit said, March 21st, 2020.
That's when my book came out.
I just remembered that. But that was the date where Spirit said to me, the mass awakening, or the great awakening, which many people have heard of, has begun. And it began March of this year with the COVID-19. So it's truly a great blessing. I know, and I'm not saying, as far as you know how I feel about to me, there is no such thing as death. You know, my son is in spirit. He's very much with me all the time. People will say, when I say that, people, oh, I feel so sorry. No. I didn't lose anything. You don't have to feel sorry for me. He's with me more now than he was when he was here in the physical. So it's all good, you know. But so those people, I believe, and this is, you know, and I share what resonates as true for me. And I always tell people, go with what resonates as true for you. But what resonates as true for me, we are divine souls that choose exactly when to come into this life experience, and we choose exactly when to leave. So any soul that left in the last 6 months, that was their soul's choice to leave at that time. But it's truly, I've been ecstatic for the last 6-7 months, and I've been sharing that. I was saying, because I know that the mass awakening has begun, and things are going to really speed up now. Really speed up. So
and even all of the discord on the political front, on the racial front, on so many fronts. It's not just our U.S. country that's having problems. They're having problems in England. They're having problems all over the world. It's like in a way, to see the ugliness and to really look at, it's teaching us something. I think we're going to sprout the better for all of this, but maybe we had to go through some very rough, challenging times. So as much as I feel it's very painful, as we all do, that we're having these fights, through that, something beautiful is going to come. I just feel
not only that, sweetie, it has already started. See, here's the thing, and you worked in media. Here's the thing, right now, more than any time in the history of media, they're not showing you that side. All I see is that side. I've been, the last month, I've done 10 public speaking engagements for unity and peace conversions, for the peace weekend. There's so many talking at unity churches. There's so many things happening that the news is not showing you. That unity is already starting. And last year, September, Spirit gave me the theme for 2020, said 2020 is the year of clear vision. That was all I got. I got that a year ago. So I got that message. Okay. All right. I know something different is going to happen. I don't know what. But 2020 year of clear vision, I've already been given the theme for 2021, which is the year of unity. And a few days after Spirit told me that 2021 is the year of unity, I started getting invitations to speak at all of these unity and peace conferences. I mean, I did 10 in the last month. So it is happening, but they don't show that on the mainstream news. And I did study journalism. If it leads, it leads. That is what they're showing. They're deliberately putting the masses globally, not just in the US, globally in a state of fear, and that's intentional. But I'm like, I know what's going on. I see behind the madness, and there's more coming together. Now, if you just watch the news, you would think, oh my God, the world is in chaos and everybody's fighting each other. It's the exact opposite is happening. People are coming together and waking up and coming together in masses.
Well, and maybe because they're seeing all this divide, people are falling away from all of that fighting and quietly going to this place of unity. Maybe it took all this ugliness.
Yes.
People to sign up.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it definitely, yeah. It's you don't have one without the other. And I always, what I like to use the yin yang symbol, which is that symbol where you have equal white and black. It's the shadow. It's our shadow side, and it's our light side. And what is happening? It's playing a dance.
Yeah.
The shadow and the light is playing a dance. But you, in this realm that we're in, you don't have one without the other. You need the light and the shadow, and they're not separate. They're one, and they're playing a dance. And when you understand that, all you do is smile at it. You just like, it's interesting. Because the light always, because we're all from the light. And people choose to play the role of the dark. And we've all done it. So that's where the non-judgment comes in, because we've lived hundreds of lifetimes, and we've all said, okay, so next time I'm going to play the bad guy. That's all it is. And so we've all done it. We've all played the role of the light. We've all played the role of the dark. So when you understand that, you don't have judgment. And you know that in the end, it all goes back to the light. I don't say it's light versus dark. I say it's light transforming our shadow. Individually, we have a shadow side, and collectively, we have a shadow side. So it's our light transforming the shadow side back to the light from which it all came.
But I have to say that if you're in tune with your inner voice and your intuition,
yes,
that light is going to grow and grow and grow and become bigger. Your path's going to become much easier. Your life's going to improve.
Yes,
it's only positive. So I don't know what happens to the shadow side.
It transforms. It transforms back to, because if we try to push anything away, it comes back at us stronger. So say we're trying to push our shadow side away. It's like, okay, she's pushing me away, but I'm going to come back at her even stronger. So actually what we push against, we make it stronger. So when we understand, okay, I need to now embrace my shadow side so I can transform it back to the light, understanding that there's no separation. So yes, and that's what we're doing. That is what we're doing individually and collectively. And now is the beginning. So next year, we're going to see all of this unity that I am seeing already. We're going to see globally.
Yes. And do you think that some of the message that I've been given to share about listening to our inner voice is going to be partly responsible for unity, because we're more tapped into that divine guidance and wisdom that we really would be wise to listen to.
Yes, I agree. We each have our role to play. We each have a unique role to play. Nobody else can do what you're doing. Nobody on the planet. That was your role. And so we each have to guide our higher self. Our intuition will lead us to
Yeah.
our unique role. So
Right.
yes.
And they'll be very happy. That's the other thing. Yes, if you are following that intuition and you're doing what you're passionate about,
Yes.
You're and really respecting yourself, you're just going to go really fast and far. If you're
Exactly.
pushing against what you're getting message wise,
Yes.
it's much more of a struggle, a tug of war back and forth. It's so much less easy.
It is. You know what I like to think of the ball, like say you have a ball and you're in the pool and you're trying to keep that ball down. You're pushing that ball down. Now the natural thing the ball wants to do is go up to the top and float. But what we're doing when we're not paying attention to our intuition is we're pushing that ball down, and you have to put a lot of pressure on it to keep it down, because it naturally, as soon as you let go, it pops right up to the top and it floats. And it's like, okay, now I feel good. That's the best analogy I could think of.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
And it's like go with the flow, because if you're doing this other stuff that's against, just what your rational mind is saying, but you're not listening, it's so much harder.
It is.
You're not getting to where you need to be. And as you said earlier, you're finally going to, maybe it'll take more time.
Yes.
Eventually you might end up there anyway, but why not speed up the process a little?
Right. Yeah, and have fun doing it. I'll never forget the time I was floating. I was in the Caribbean, forget which island, but white sand, and I was just floating on my back, and I'm like, oh my God, this is just heaven. It's like, hey, why not just you know what? All you have to do is let go, and because I remember when I used to go, I don't go to church anymore, but it used to be a saying, let go and let God. Just let go and let your higher self take you exactly where you're supposed to be. You don't have to put so much. You'll be led. You'll be led without all that pressure, which is awesome. Yes.
Yeah, it's amazing. But there is a lot of work still to be done. And I can briefly mention in the book, it's a long story. I'll just say it in 2 sentences.
No, you can give us.
Well, I don't want to get into things, but I was writing a chapter for the book about great minds in history, like Carl Jung and others who embrace intuition. And my husband, who's a sweetheart, but not really involved in my book. I mean, he's involved. He does medicine. That's his career. And he listens to music when he gets home. But it was a Saturday, February 13th, a couple of years ago. I'm in my office. It's freezing cold out. And I'm working on this chapter. And my husband calls me upstairs and he says, Mary Ann, come up. I have something to show you. Well, I'm like, he never does this. I go up. He has all these quotes from Albert Einstein about intuition. And I remember thinking, I had no clue that Albert Einstein was involved in intuition at all. And I said to my husband, that's fantastic. I said, why are you looking at these quotes? It made no sense. And he goes, I don't know. I just suddenly remembered that I had seen these quotes by Einstein and thought it would be useful. So I was totally puzzled, but I went downstairs and I'm Googling Albert Einstein and intuition. And I come to find at the end of his career, when he was already famous, he had a reading by a young woman in a limousine. They were on their way to an event sharing this, and she was a psychic. And he said, I won't go through the whole thing, but he said he was fascinated. She knew things that nobody else knew that he was working on, and he wanted to share it with other people, his colleagues. It was amazing. And the psychic said that Einstein was a brilliant energy, and it was like looking at, shards of blue light, not just colors, but it was amazing energy. But he was put down in an article in the New Republic, which is a magazine still exists today, by a journalist who heard about this story that Einstein embraced intuition and was making fun of him, basically saying, well, now if you're a psychic vaudeville act. I mean, you're giving credence to that. So anyway, I find this all out on the internet, and I'm like, wow, this is exciting. Einstein was into this. So we go to dinner that night, and we have it at our famous little burger place, and we drop our daughter off for a sleepover, and we come home. I go to bed, get up the next morning. I'm barely clothed. I was about to take a shower.
Yes.
And this is Valentine's Day, which is February 14th, Sunday. My daughter's at the sleepover. I go in half naked to check my email. The phone rings. 8:20 in the morning. I grab the receiver. I'm thinking it's my daughter from the sleepover. Maybe she's having a problem. And I didn't want to wake my husband up. So and this lady's on the phone that I had never talked to before. And she said, good morning. I was doing my morning prayers and meditation, and I was directed to call you this morning and wish you a happy Valentine's Day by Albert Einstein. Well, I nearly lost my mind because what? Who is this person? And she starts telling me things like I'm a vessel of truth and that I've chosen the right people to involve in this project and that it's going to help many people. And it goes on. And I'm taking notes and I stop. And I fortunately have a tape recorder here because I do a lot of interviews for my books. And I said, excuse me, stop for a minute. But who are you? What is your name? And she said, Edna. And I thought, oh, one of the people I'm supposed to interview next week, her name starts with an E, but I look it up and it's Erin, not Edna. I said, what's your last name? She says, Randall. And she said, and I say, Edna Randall, I Google it, and a story from the New York Times in 2003 comes up about mediums. Edna Randall was quoted, she's a medium that lives on Long Island. And I'm starting to piece together, she's a real person. And I said, do you even know my name? And she said, no, but I know one of your names is like my mom's name, Anne. And I said, do you know what I'm working on? She says, no, I'm sorry, I don't. But this is the one. I said, well, how did you get my phone number? My phone number is, Caroline, as you know, it's not only unlisted, but it's in my husband's name and his last name is different than mine. There's no finding my phone number. And she said, well, when Einstein was giving the message I was supposed to give to you from him, he also dictated your phone number. And he said it in sequence. He said the area code, the first three numbers, and then the last four. And the last four, she said, was 1309. And I'm thinking, my number is 1389. But before I could speak, she said, but he told me to take the 0 between the 3 and the 9 out and insert an infinity symbol, which blew my mind. And so then she says, well, let me give you the message he wanted me to give to you. And by this time the tape recorder's on, but I'll just say the first sentence. Her voice lowers and she says, Madame, like who says Madame anymore, but Madame, I am still focused on the agenda of bringing humankind to the highest, best good. Think about that. Einstein is still focused on the agenda of bringing humankind to the highest, best good. And then the message goes on and it's in my book. And then, it's amazing. And basically very humbling, very brilliant message. So we stop and she says, I said, do you mind if I get your phone number? Can I call you tomorrow? Because I'm a little bit overwhelmed with this.
Right.
Give me your number. She lives on Long Island. And I did call her the next day and we chatted. She's a very lovely woman.
Yes.
She used to be a medium, but now she works in soup kitchens and helps disadvantaged children. But she also channels Einstein, Nikola Tesla, and Alva Vanderbilt. But anyway, we hang up. I go in to take my shower at last. And I look up at the ceiling and I say to them, my guides, can you tone it down a little bit? This is more than I can handle. And I go in and take the shower. And then my husband gets up and I tell him about this.
Yes.
And he goes, well, maybe that woman wants to be in your book. Maybe she wants to be in. I said, she doesn't know what I'm working. She doesn't care.
Right.
Said, well, wait a minute. He said, Einstein contacted me first because the night before Valentine's Day, he was up there, he got these messages and he looked up these quotes and we laughed because he was right.
Yes.
My daughter came home. She was 14 at the time. She comes home from her sleepover and my husband says to her, hey, guess who called mom and wished her a happy Valentine's Day today? Albert Einstein. And my daughter gave the 14-year-old eye roll because
my parents are crazy.
He's seen it all with me.
Yes.
So that's in the book, but it's I still get goosebumps.
Yes, just thinking
I thought I wasn't going to put it in the book because I thought people will think I'm crazy.
No.
But I just say, listen, read this. This has really happened. You can judge what you want.
Yes. And I love that what he said to you because that's true. See, we think we're so limited in our thinking. We think, okay, we're born, we die, and that's it. No, he's still working on what he was working on when he was here in the physical. Yes. So that's like, and we do the same thing. So you're going to be still working on this when you get there on the other side. So it's awesome. Yeah.
And like your son and my parents, I feel like they're the ones in the catbird seat.
Yes.
Like they got it all going on. But my mom has come through. She's like, I have a little tiny waist again. I have no pain. She has sciatica. And I look like I'm 32 and we're having fun. And I'm like, wow, you got it going on. And here
Yes.
we're down here toiling away, you know.
Yes.
So I think if anything, I always feel very joyful, like people have graduated when they pass.
Yes. Oh, yes. It's
Now,
a transition. It should be a celebration. We shouldn't be, I mean, yes, we're gonna miss their physical, but if we open up to our intuition, we still have that relationship with them. So yes, yes.
absolutely. My mom came through in a reading. My mom died a year and a half before my daughter was even conceived. And
Okay.
she came through in a reading with one of the people in my book, I think Virginia Centrillo. I can't remember. The great people in the book. And
Yes.
she said, oh, she said, thank you for naming your daughter's middle name after me, which my daughter's name is Lily Marie. My mom was Marie. And she
Okay.
said, and I love the way you've decorated her room. Now, remember, mom died before I was even pregnant. And she
Right.
said, I love the glow in the dark stars on the ceiling, which we got from a science center, which were there. And
Right.
those beautiful butterfly appliques above her headboard, which are
Wow.
there.
Right.
My mom sees it all going on.
They
And
all, yes, they do. They know exactly what's going on in our life right here and now. Kyle has been in spirit now 6 years, but he knows exactly what's going on right now.
they
Yeah.
can help us too.
Yes.
Give
Yes.
us information. I mean, it's not to say that every deceased person is like standing over us, watching our every move.
No, they actually they live busy lives too.
Very busy.
They're still doing their stuff, but as soon as we think about them, they're right there. You know.
They
Yeah.
really have a huge advantage over being human.
Yeah.
I have a chapter in my book called My Memory of Heaven Before I Was Born. I won't go into it, it's short, but basically I remember just before I was born, I remember coming into this giant airplane hangar and this gorgeous light was behind me. And I
Yeah.
knew that was my loved ones and that was heaven. But I
Yeah.
was going on a journey and I was holding the hand of this, I think it was an angel, an impossibly tall being with a white robe on. And
Right.
just didn't speak, but was emanating love. And I'm like the size of a toddler. And there's a line of all sorts of little soul beings in front of me with their impossibly tall beings going in
Yeah.
this line. And all the beauty and all the light is behind me. And I realized I'm going on an adventure, kind of like
Yes.
the first day of school. And I was filled with a little nervousness, but more excitement. And when
Excitement.
we got up to the top front of the line, each person at the front of the line, the impossibly tall being or angel would pick up
Uh-huh.
the little soul being and put them on this huge, long, translucent slide. And when it was
Mm.
my turn, I was put on it. And the very next memory I have is laying in a stroller, you know, those flat strollers that loose like beds that we used
Yes.
to have, not the
Yes.
little
Yes.
chair one.
Yes.
And
I
I'm
remember those.
and I
Yes.
was born in June and it was summer. And I was looking up, I was snuggled in a blankie and I was looking up at the beautiful face of my mother and the clouds and the sky behind her as she's strolling me. And I felt so comfortable and I knew that I was now here. And I
Right.
thought that was just a weird dream I had as a kid, but it
No, that's
persisted.
so
And I
cool.
found out that there's a whole category of us who do remember
Yes.
just before we came here. I
Yes.
forget there's a word for it, but
Yes.
I write that chapter, but boy, my memory, it was like I'm going to school, but
Yes. And you were. Yeah, like you said, this is like a school. And you know what? Now I'm envisioning because I'm envisioning as you describing it, and I believe that white, that white, what you call might be an angel. I believe that was your higher self.
you know what? Somebody told me in a reading recently that
Yes.
my future self is
Yes.
looking back on me and is very proud of me
Oh,
because of
okay.
what I've been doing with, and I'm like, and she said, listen now, your future self wants you to understand all you're capable of doing and don't doubt anything. And I'm like blown away
Yes.
because we are on many levels.
Yes. Yes.
So I don't know. It could be my higher self.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like to me, like your higher self and you're in your lower self, and he's like, okay, let me push you down the slide, go into the world now. But I'll always be with you. So your higher self is like pushing you down the slide and say, but I'll always be with you. I'll
They
never
didn't have
left.
to push much. They just put us on a womb. But it was exciting, and I'll never forget the feeling. But that's why I have a lot now. If you lose a child through suicide or something, it's always tragic and difficult.
Right,
However, when you know and understand, I mean, I empathize, I feel for people with those situations, very tough. But
right.
the beauty that's over there, that's why when both my
Yeah.
parents passed,
Yeah.
Again, not tragically, but they were sick and it was hard at the end. I
Right.
felt so relieved for them. I felt so happy for them. And when they've come through, that's exactly, they're like
Yeah.
so happy, and I feel so comforted in knowing
Right.
that they're in a really fantastic place. Here is where people ask if I believe in hell. I don't necessarily.
Right.
I believe that there may be different levels of heaven, but
Right.
and we're human, we can't know. But
Right.
when you talk about good and evil, you see a lot of evil here on
Yes.
the earth, on the human plane. It's
Yes. And
choices.
what I say is, though, we create it, though. We create, we, it, what we call hell, because I don't believe in a hell.
Yeah,
But it's not a place, it's a state of being.
right.
And so is heaven. Heaven is a state of being, and hell is a state of being. And we, in each now moment, we can create heaven or we can create hell right here. Yep.
It's within our power, and a lot of it has to do with loving ourselves. And I want to read one of the people I ran this book by and I interviewed for the book is a man who is an archbishop, a Catholic archbishop named
Mm-hmm.
Harry J. Flynn. He was our family priest when I was growing up, and
Okay.
he looked like Bing Crosby, cute young Irish guy with the ears, and
Yes.
Father Flynn. My dad was a Methodist, and my mom and I and my siblings would go to church, and Dad would be mowing the lawn. And
Yes.
then when I was about 7 or so, my dad decided to convert to Catholicism. So Father Flynn helped him do it. And Father Flynn became a family friend for years. He went on to be a bishop in New Orleans and then an archbishop in Minneapolis. And when I was almost done writing this book, I thought, I'm going to call Father Flynn, Archbishop Flynn. I haven't talked to him in years, but I wonder what he's going to say.
Right.
Is he going to say it's the work of the devil, like the whole religion thing? And
Yeah.
I just was a bit nervous, but I thought I'm going to do it. So I
Right.
called him. I told him about the book. And to my shock and surprise, he said, Mary Ann, saints have these abilities. Jesus had these abilities.
Wow.
And he said beautiful things, which are in the book in the first chapter, The New Spirituality. I quote him.
love
Yes,
it.
he said, it's fine if you quote me. He said beautiful, gorgeous things about this. And on the back of my book, there's a little 2-sentence quote from Archbishop Flynn, who fortunately, whatever way you look at it, passed on in October of last year.
Okay.
But he said, this direct connection has always been available to all of us.
Yes.
Some receive this guidance through prayer, some through meditation, and others by simply listening to their inner voice. This sentence is amazing. We all have access to divine wisdom. It's just a matter of knowing and trusting that we are loved and worthy of receiving that guidance. So it's just about saying, I'm worthy. Bring it on.
Yes, that is so true. That is so, and I'm so glad you didn't get that because, like I said, I was active in church for many years, and when I was ready to leave, I was a little concerned because I was like, "Well, I have so many friends," and I'm thinking, but then Spirit said to me, "Well, if they're truly your friends, they'll still be your friends after you leave," and I found like they weren't truly friends, but it's okay because now I'm meeting, like you said, you're meeting your soul family. I couldn't stay where I wasn't supposed to stay. It was, and I one of my very good friends said to me when just before I started my show 6 years ago, I said, I'm having a channel, someone I trust, and she channels her higher self or her spirit team, and he's like, I'm done with you. That's the work of the yes. He's like, I'm done with you. It's like he was very religious, and he's like that's the devil's work. And yeah.
Well, that's why I think I was so blessed to have Archbishop Flynn say all this stuff to me. I did try to write a chapter where I interview rabbis and ministers and priests about intuition.
Yes.
Nobody would go on record because it is still such a taboo. I will tell you, however, you're in good company because a Pew Research, the big group, PEW Research, they found that the fastest growing group of people are people who identify as spiritual, but not religious. They've turned away from traditional religion, maybe because of the sex scandals, whatever.
Yes.
But they're still yearning for that spiritual connection. And that is listening to your inner voice.
Yes.
So many people, many from all ages, are saying, I don't want this. I don't have to be in a building for this, but how do I connect? This is the first year that I, as a Catholic, did not go to Easter Mass. We couldn't. We
You
couldn't do it.
couldn't. You
And
couldn't.
now I could, when my daughter was little, I'd go to mass more often, but
Yeah.
pretty much I'm a Christmas and Easter person, but
Right.
I've always known that I don't need the building
Right.
to do it. I don't need an intermediary. As wonderful as some of our priests, rabbis, and ministers are,
Yes.
even if you still go to church and you have that with them, great. I
Right.
applaud whatever, but we have that direct connection,
We
and
do.
that there's nothing second to that, quite frankly.
Exactly.
It's so powerful. So I'm sorry that your friends are still trapped. A lot of the reason for a lot of that is fear.
Yes.
People
And
are
that, you know what? When he said that to me, that's exactly my question. I said, what are you afraid of?
afraid of.
He never answered me, but I'm like, what are you afraid of? Because I could see it's fear. Yes. Yes.
And again, my Archbishop, he spoke with love of this. I think that a lot of good people in the churches are fine people. However, I think that over the centuries, churches didn't want you to have that direct connection because that was what made them them. They
Yes.
had a church that you would come to and donate to, and you'd go
Yes.
to pray through them. And one thing I didn't like in the Catholic Church is before we would receive communion, we'd say, Lord, I am not worthy to receive you, but
Yes.
please, receive. And I remember thinking, not so much. I think I'm worthy.
Yeah. Yes, no, I have to laugh because I never became Catholic, but my parents sent me to Catholic school for 6 years. I
Mhm.
went to Catholic school from K to 5th grade. So I
Mhm.
was in Catholic school for 6 years, and we had religion every day in class, and then had the nuns and the priests.
Yeah.
But exactly what you just said, when I would hear something like that at 5 years old, like, you're making me say it, and I gotta say it or I'll get in trouble, but no.
I know they love me. I know I'm worthy. And they've changed some of that language in the Catholic Church,
Good.
but no, there's enough love to go around. You
Right.
can still attend church if that's your choice, but
Exactly.
don't let it stop we're held in the arms of this love of
Yes.
these divine beings.
Yes.
It
Yes.
does not have to be about religion. It transcends religion. So I'm sorry you
Exactly.
experienced that.
Yeah,
One
but
of the
it's okay because I know that I couldn't stay where I was growing, and I needed to do what I needed to do. And
One of the
so,
gifted people in my book, Gabby Deeds, lives in Arkansas in the
okay,
Bible Belt. And she's, of course, a very gifted psychic medium. And
yes,
a lot of the people that are her neighbors are all these, Bible thumping folk. And
yes,
secretly, they'll come to Gabby to get readings. But they
okay.
don't want anyone to
Like,
know.
yeah, they'll sneak over her house. Like, anybody watching? So cute.
Yeah.
Yes, 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 yes. That's cute. Yeah, but no, it's so totally true. I mean, the dogma of religion is what people, and like as a child, it didn't resonate with me. As a child, it didn't resonate with you, and so many people. It's like, okay, I want that spiritual connection, but the dogma just doesn't resonate.
I will tell you though that I feel very fortunate to have been raised in that religion because what it taught me was humility, kneeling and realizing that you have this beautiful God, Jesus, whatever, Virgin Mary. You have all that. It fed my soul in a way
Yes.
that of that loving way. I just took it a few steps further and to the right and to the left a little
Right.
bit, kind of put in the soup my own thoughts.
Yes,
Which
yes,
fortunately
yes,
Archbishop Flynn was wise enough to share with me.
yes,
I mean, think of it being an archbishop,
yes,
meeting the Pope. This man is right in the throes of being, he was the head of, when he was a bishop, he was the head of the committee to stop sex abuse with priests,
yes,
right?
yes.
So he was a very forward thinking man, but still he was one of them.
Right.
He went beyond that and just told me beautiful things that if you look in my book in chapter 1, just those 2 sentences I read, that's part of it. He really believes very strongly what we believe. So I say that's a very brave and powerful thing.
Yes.
that
And I
he
look at
shared.
people like Mother Teresa.
Oh my,
Just yes, it's
just
just
love
yes, just love. Yes.
and direct connection. So
Yes.
anyway, that's
Yeah.
I'm so happy that I found you. You've been an amazing person to talk to.
Oh, thank you so much.
I
Thank
share
you.
so many of your thoughts and beliefs, and
Yes.
the way Kyle being the producer, co-producer on your show
Yes.
is a
Yep.
lovely a lovely thing, and you're so blessed to have such wisdom.
Yes.
You know, not everybody has that, but I think that we all have the capacity to
See,
embrace that.
exactly. I agree. We all have, it's just that inner connection. To me, it's like I say, it's an inner knowing. It's not intellectual. I
Right.
always say intellect comes from the brain, from your limited human mind is where the intellect, but your heart, and I always say my heart is wide open to infinite wisdom. So I think of intellect here, but wisdom here. And wisdom is all knowing. But yeah, so please, Mary Ann, please share with our listener your website and everything, how they can find you and keep in touch with you.
Okay, so it's easy because it's just my website's just my name, www.maryannbohrer.com. It's spelled MaryannBohrer.com. My book, The Gift Within Us.
Yes.
It's just that simple white book with
I
a
love
bow.
it.
It's like a gift. I mean, we
Yes.
can thank them for that.
Yes.
You can find it on Amazon.com or
Okay.
BarnesandNoble.com. Just type in The Gift Within Us or
Yes.
my name and it'll pop right up. I'm proud to announce, since we spoke last and this book came out
Yes.
in March 2021
Yes.
this year, I got an email from Amazon and I was shocked. They said, it was like 3 weeks after the book came out. They said, Mary Ann, your book is the #1 new release on Amazon in the spiritual self-help category, which is not a small category.
Category, right.
It remained there for weeks.
Wow.
And I was like, really? The height of the pandemic, this comes out?
Yes.
I had done
Because, and that was because people were home and they were craving and yearning for the information that was in your book. Yes.
I was on your show.
Yes.
And the book wasn't out yet. And I think we told people to go to my website. And I think I had a little blurb that said, it'll be out soon if you need to pre-order. And some people contacted me and said, we heard you on this show, Awake to Oneness, and we want your book. So I actually physically took their names and addresses down.
Okay.
When the book came out, I shipped it to them.
Awesome.
Yeah, but it wasn't out at the time. So the fact that
Right.
it became a #1 new release in this, and I have a screenshot I'll send to you. It shows #1. I mean, I was like,
Yes.
what? I didn't even know they ranked them like that. But
Yeah. Oh, wow. That
very-
is perfect. It came out in perfect divine timing, and it's perfectly where, and nobody knew. Everybody was going to be locked in at home for 6 weeks to 8 weeks. Nobody knew that, but now it came out right. Okay, you guys need to stay home and read this book. That's what you need to do.
My book could have been published a year earlier, 2017, maybe 2018, or no, 2018, 2019. But
Right.
I just felt I just knew it wasn't the right time. You have to have divine timing.
It is.
And they don't know time, and we don't really have time in the other realm, but they know when the moments are right for something to happen.
Exactly.
You need to be patient and listen and understand. And as you said, I feel it's imminent. So do many of my gifted friends.
Yes.
That this enormous raising of consciousness is happening as we speak.
It is. And like I told you, I got that message March 20. So it's your book and my message came at the same time, March 21st, 2020. And I'll never forget, honestly, because I have been on a high literally since then. It's happening. Yes, humanity awakening, the great awakening that has been talked about for centuries is happening now. It's a beautiful time to be alive and awake.
Yes, it is. And if you're having difficulty waking up, just stretch your arms out, take a deep breath, take that shower, whatever, and listen and feel the love and feel the guidance that you're getting. You will feel it. Just realize you're worthy of it.
Yes.
Open your mind, take your humility out, your ego down a couple pegs, and listen.
Yes.
So we all have that. And then, just talk to other people. Let them know that they have access to this divine guidance. It's right there at our fingertips.
Exactly.
So,
and I find the best way to share it with others is being a living demonstration. To just demonstrate the love in every now moment. And I think that they're like, interesting. But
Right.
thank you. This has been so great. And I see the sun has shifted.
Oh,
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's like you're in heaven right now because you're like you got all this. The rays of sun is right, right on you. It's beautiful. Now, where are you? I know you're on the East Coast. You're same time.
I lived in New York City. I grew up in upstate New York, but I lived in New York City for 14 years. But when I was about 9, my dad moved us down to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where I grew up in my teen years. And I love Pittsburgh.
Okay.
And I'm in Pittsburgh, PA. We're lucky here. It's not the hustle and bustle of New York. It's
Right.
a beautiful place. There's grass and trees.
Yes.
But I'm on the East Coast. I'm in Eastern.
Yes. Well, I'm in we're in the same state. I'm in the Poconos. I'm in northeastern
Yeah.
Pennsylvania. So we're in the same state. Yes.
It's
But I
beautiful.
always think, because I know that you did so much in New York in your PR work, I always think of you in New York. But okay, Pittsburgh. All right. I've never been to the western end of Pennsylvania, but
Yeah, it's beautiful, and we're blessed with so much grass and trees. When I lived in New York City, I flew back to Pittsburgh almost every Friday night and
oh,
back to New York almost every Monday morning.
wow.
Back then, before 9/11, it was cheap. You
Yes.
didn't have to take your shoes off. You could carry full bottles of shampoo. So I would just get on my US Airway flight and come here for the weekends.
Okay.
But no, I need the grass and trees. But I think
Yes.
I needed to I think Spirit wanted me to spend those years in New York City
Yes.
to hone my PR skills so I could help promote some of these messages.
Yes, yes. No, Spirit always leads us exactly where we need to. Spirit led me here 29 years ago. When Kyle was 6 years old, I bought my house in the Poconos. And I love the mountains. I'm looking at trees across right now. There's just woods across the street from my house. There's woods in the front and in the back. And I'm just, the lake is 4 miles away. I'm exactly where Spirit wants me to be.
It's pretty close to heaven. Trust me,
Yes.
the nature. So get out and
Yes.
enjoy nature and listen. Ask them for some help and
Yes.
just be delighted in what you get.
Yes.
It's within all of us. That's
It
why I
is.
gift within us. So
Yes.
thank you so much,
Yes.
Caroline, for having me on.
And thank you so much for coming back. I love it. I love it. This is great. And we are going to get together. Probably now we're getting ready for winter. So after winter, in the spring, we're going to get together in the spring. Okay.
I think so. I may have a press conference with a lot of the people in my book, be
Okay.
it Zoom or whatever, in early 2021. I'm working.
Okay. All right.
I'll let you know.
Thank you. Yes, definitely. We're going to stay in contact. Definitely.
Oh, God, yes, please.
Yes. All righty, sweetie. Thank you so much. I love you so much. This is so great. And I will be in touch with you soon. So I'm going to say to everybody, because this is going to air on a Friday night. So I always say to everybody, have a wonderful weekend. Love you, sweetie.
You too.
Okay.
Thank you. Thanks.
All righty.
Take
Bye-bye
care.
for now.